right, good morning, everybody, to our second topic in our geometry discussion. Just to make sure everything looks good, let's zoom in a little bit. All right. Now, I've reserved 3 sessions for this next topic because for some of you, I'm not going to lie, it might not be the easiest to get on top of. It's worth it in the end, but it's going to take some practice, more than the previous section, perhaps. Okay, so go in aware that some of these things might be tricky, and then we'll be okay. So, our second topic, chapter 10, Euclidean constructions. Now, eventually, we're going to streamline this, but in order to understand what and how things work at that later stage, we're going to go to basics, back to basics in this chapter. The goal here is, I'll do a little look ahead. The goal here is to make certain geometric constructions, arrange lines and circular arcs and angles and maybe shapes inside and outside of circles, but we only have 2 tools to do it. We have a compass, which is the thing with 2 points where you make a circle. You put the center and you draw around your hand and you make a circle or circular arcs with that. Not a compass in terms of direction. And you have something that can draw a straight line. You can think of it as a ruler, but we call it a straight edge. It doesn't have any markings on it, so you can't measure anything. Now, we're going to make things a little bit more streamlined in future chapters. This chapter is to really understand the geometry involved to creating shapes. Now, under normal circumstances, if we were face to face, we would all have little geometry sets, and we can do it on paper, but of course, times have changed slightly, so we're going to do it on the computer. You are still welcome if you have a geometry set or you want to buy one. You're welcome to, of course, for any future test or anything, do it by hand on paper. But of course, I can't show myself doing that, so we have to improvise. So what we're going to do is use a very, very nice website called, oh, I don't know exactly how you pronounce it, but I call it Geogebra. Geometry and algebra combined. Very nice website. There's a lot more on this with the calculator and graphing and all kinds of algebra calculus stuff you can do. So feel free to explore that. However, our purpose, let me just not make it full screen, but let me just resize it in a way that fits better on the screen. Maybe something like that. There we go. Our goal is to just use the geometry part of this. So I'll click on geometry, and that gives us an interface for where we can draw the things we want to draw, lines and circles essentially. So we're going to have 2 basic constructions. So I'll call this this is our constructions. I'll call it level 0, because these are sort of the rules for how we can draw stuff and what we can do. We have 2 things that we are able to do, sort of the foundation of geometry. 2 of the postulates that Euclid came up with as general agreed upon facts. One of them is that given any 2 points, we can draw a unique, my writing's terrible today and every day, of course, a unique straight line connecting those 2 points. I'm not always going to say straight line. All our lines will be straight unless it's an arc. Now, how do we do that in this application? Right? That is the main challenge. On top of the geometry, we have the added fun, not challenge, fun, to learn how to use this. This is the best one I could find. It does the job fairly well. So I just have initially some basic tools that'll get us through this first one. I select the point tool, and when I click on my drawing area here, it makes a point. I know, amazing. And then I can make another point there. Once I have 2 points, that uniquely specifies a line. There is only one line that can go through those points. I can view it as a line segment. Now, if you click on any of these tools, you'll see at the bottom, let me see if I could see it here. Yes, you see at the bottom, maybe a little small, but it's there. When I click on it, it says select 2 points or positions. So I have 2 points. I'm going to pick the first one. Then I'm going to click on the second one. And there is the unique line that is specified. Of course, I can do a line through these points as well. I'll use my back button. And then I'll pick one point and another point. But it's essentially the same line, right? Where it ends isn't completely relevant for us. It's still the same line. So 2 points uniquely specify a line, regardless of if I want it to be a line segment or a line through the points, I can draw the line. So that is our straight edge ruler construction tool. Okay. I'm going to try and go slowly, but in truth, just sitting through the live session will not get the job done. You probably need to watch the backed up video over and over and over until you get the hang of how to use this in addition to the constructions we'll do. But I've reserved 3 days. I think it'll be enough, but I'll try and not go too fast. Okay, so that is the first rule, the first tool that we can use for any of this. And we only have 2 tools. The second one is given a center point and another point. Whew, beautiful writing today. We can draw a unique circle or a circular arc. Now, in the hand compass, you can draw just little arcs. You don't have to do a full circle. In the Geogebra application, they're all going to be full circles, unfortunately. So I click on more, and it opens up a whole bunch of new stuff we can do. Our compass sits under the circles category. I apologize if it's a little small. There's no way to zoom it. Our compass sits under the circles category. So let me just clear what I have there. Clear all here. I don't care to save it. There's our blank canvas again. So we need a center point. Let's call that point A. It automatically names the points for me, just so we can better communicate when we talk about the points. And I need a point that's going to sit on the circle. That essentially specifies the radius of the circle. Now, with a compass, a practical physical compass, I would put my pointy bit on the center, and then my pencil bit on the other point, and I could draw an arc, maybe a full circle, maybe just a little arc, depending on my needs. In GeoGebra, it's going to always be a full circle. There's no arc tool that I can find, but that's okay. So I click on my compass tool, and you see the bottom here, it says select segment or 2 points for radius, then center point. Now it's a little confusing, but I'm going to go from the outside of the circle to the center. Outside of the circle is B. Click on that, click on the center, and there's my circle. Now, with the compass tool, there is a third click necessary. Right now it's floating. I need to confirm it on the center, and then it's locked. Okay. Regardless, given a center point and another point, which will specify the radius, I can draw a unique circle. There is only one circle with this center touching that point. There is no other circle. And on top of these two basic assumptions, with some other little ones, but we're not going to make it too complicated. I'm trying to streamline this. Everything is built. With just using these two things, I can draw pentagons, I can draw squares, I can draw them inside and outside a circle. I can do a lot of different things. That is our goal in this chapter. It's a big one. It's a big one. But it's also rewarding once you get the hang of it. Once you get the hang of it. So, now before we get to the actual polygon drawing, we need to have some intermediate constructions that'll help us, that is used in the construction of a square, of a triangle, and stuff like that. So we're going to have 3 levels. Level 0 is our rules, essentially. What we're allowed to do. We're allowed to do 2 things. Draw lines, draw circles. There is nothing else you can do in this back to basics topic. And the challenge that the Greeks had when they sort of developed this geometry subject was to see how far can they go with these limited compass and straight edge tools. And it turns out you can do a lot more than you think. But an intermediate level that I'll call level 1 is make some constructions. Make some constructions. So I'll number them like this. So I'll say level 1, 1, for example. The first one is draw a perpendicular bisector to a line segment. Now, because we're doing things a little bit differently using GeoGebra, the way we're going to do it is not necessarily, actually it's not, going to match the names that you see and the points and the labels that you see in the book. It's not going to match it. And I'm going to add a couple as well to make our future constructions a little bit easier. So just see if you're following the video and trying to match it with the book, it's not going to be perfect. Okay, so maybe for this, maybe don't really look at the book right now. Maybe just look at the video and make your own notes for the steps involved, because you can watch the video over and over and over. Okay, so what do I mean here? The perpendicular bisector. What on earth does that mean? Okay, I have a line segment. So I click on these 3 little lines here. Can you see the 3 little lines? Yes. I click on them, I say clear all, and that just gives me a fresh start. So I need to start with a line segment, which means I need 2 points, let's say there and there. And then I click on my segment tool. Oh, I didn't actually click on it. There we go. Select, what's happening here? Come on, segment tool. There we go. Segment tool requires 2 points and draws a line segment in between those. So given this, I need to draw a line perpendicular, so making a 90-degree angle intersecting this line. So it's going to be sort of vertical, but perfectly perpendicular and cutting this line perfectly in half. Which means I cannot, see this is slightly slanted here, this line. I can't eyeball it and say, it's going to be over there. That's not going to be perfectly perpendicular. I can't trust myself to be that accurate. It's impossible. Or maybe I get lucky. Can't trust it. How do we do it? By simply drawing lines and circles. Okay, that is the question. That is the goal. Lines and circles to make a perpendicular bisector. So first of all, of course, understand what we mean by perpendicular bisector. Okay, so here is what we're going to do. Time permitting, I'll go through them again, but I'd like to get through all these constructions today. And remember, if something is confusing, you can always rewatch it, and I encourage you to rewatch it many, many, many times. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I am going to pick a distance that roughly I know halfway sits roughly over here, right? I can eyeball it roughly. I can't be precise. It's roughly over here, halfway between the 2 points. So if I start at A, I'm just going to go and make sure I'm over halfway. I can go all the way to B, but I don't have to. I can go way over. As long as I'm over halfway, I'll go over here somewhere. As long as I put another point a little over halfway. See, now everyone should be convinced that's way over the halfway mark, right? From A. Now, I'm going to go to my compass tool, and I'm going to I'm going to make a circle around A. A is the center, and this new point C is my radius. So I'm going to go from the outside of the circle to the center. There is my circle. Now, I don't care about the left part. If I could physically, I just need a little arc. Sort of half the circle, the right half of the circle. But this application will always draw the full circle, so I don't care about the left side too much. I confirm to put the circle there. Now I'm going to do the exact same, but on the other side. I need the exact same circle. So I'm going to do the same thing that I just did from C to the center, but without confirming. Now it's floating. The exact same circle is floating. I want to put that circle at B. So in that way, I can essentially copy the circle that I just made. Just before I confirm a different center for it. Now these two are identical because I couldn't pick exactly the same distance that C had on the other side. Couldn't do that. I can't eyeball anything. Now, where these two circles intersect, I'm going to put my new points. And of course, in the book, you'll see the points are labeled differently. Geogebra labels these points automatically. I don't have control over that. So where these two intersect, I have my new points. I'm going to make a line segment or a through line. It doesn't matter to me. I'll pick line segment. Connecting those 2 points. And that line DE is perfectly perpendicular to AB and bisecting AB, cutting it in half perfectly. This is my construction for a perpendicular bisector. Now, I want to show you a nice feature of GeoGebra, thinking ahead for the test. Eventually, we're going to draw more and more complicated things, and there's going to be a lot of circles, and it's going to get confusing. What am I actually looking at? What am I trying to produce at the end? Even in this small case, I'm really using the circles to produce the perpendicular bisector on the line segment. I don't really want to see everything else as much. You can use, under the edit tools, you can use the show hide object. Click on that circle, and you see it's grayed out a little bit. Click on that circle, and you see it's grayed out a little bit. If I then continue and do some other stuff, it disappears temporarily. Now it's still there. As soon as I click show hide object, all the behind the scenes stuff is still there. And I can print it by clicking on this three little lines at the top, and I can say export image, or I can maybe download it as a PDF, all kinds of nice things. And it'll show all the lines, even though temporarily I might want to hide it. Actually, let me do it. Let me put it on the desktop. Geogebra export, sure. It's over here. I'm opening it just to show you. And there it is. There it is. Exactly the way I had it on my screen. It's a PDF, and I can merge it with my answers and do everything I need to do for the eventual creation of my test answer PDF. Okay, so very nice tool. Apart from the fact that I can't make a little arc, everything's going to be full circles. This is perfect. Perfect. Okay. So I'm going to go through it all just in case. I don't want to do everything twice and then run out of time, because you can rewatch the video as many times as you want. So write down the steps, practice the steps until you have mastered this. This is a key construction that you cannot move on without mastering this. Can't be done. All right. Number 2 is very much related to this. Let's suppose, let me paint the picture first. Where do I go? Over here, let me clear everything, clear all. I don't want to save it. There we go, fresh blank canvas. Let's suppose I just have a line. I have a line. Boom. Let's make it a little angled so I can't really cheat by eyeball it, by thinking I can eyeball this. And let's suppose I have another point. Let's say the point is over here. I want to just draw a perpendicular line from C down to the given line. It's not a perpendicular bisector, it's just a perpendicular line down. Right? Perpendicular line down is not going to bisect AB. AB was just used to make the line. So my next level 1 construction is construct a perpendicular line, of course everything's straight line, to a given line through a point. I have a given line, I have a point, make a perpendicular line that goes through that point. Like this setup. Now I can try and get back to number 1 because I can do a perpendicular bisector. However, if I draw a perpendicular line down now, it's not going to bisect anything I can see right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a point. Let's pick A, for example. You can pick any point, really. Let's pick another point just to emphasize it doesn't have... Oopsie, no, not that point. Undo. A point on the line. Let's make that one on the line. Let's pick point D. I'm just going to move D a little bit and make it a little closer over there, just to give myself some space. Now I'm going to take my compass tool. I just have to create 2 points. I have to create a line segment that the perpendicular line from C will actually bisect. So my circle is going to go from D to C, confirm. That gives me another point where the circle intersects the line again. And the line DE will be bisected by the perpendicular line through C. So now I'm going to view my line segment as DE and do a perpendicular bisector construction on that. So now I have to remember, of course, and I know in real time now it's a lot to remember. I have to remember my steps for the perpendicular bisector, which is make a point. Now remember, my line segment is DE. I don't really see anything else. If you want, you can hide it. Well, I don't know if I can hide it. And make a new line segment, D to E. If you want, you can hide the circle as well, because the circle was temporary and now it's not needed anymore. I can't necessarily, I can hide B as well. So let's hide B. B hidden, and A as well. Often, as we get to more complicated constructions, these things are still there. Show hide objects, everything is still there. Everything should be printed for an answer in the test. But they can very easily become distractions when I need to draw future things. So the show and hide object tool is very, very handy. Now I just have a cleaner situation to look at. And now I'm back to the perpendicular bisector. So my steps for that is make a point a little over halfway. Let's go from D, a little over halfway. Well, let's be safe and put halfway over there, over halfway over there at F. Then I go to my compass tool, and the more you do it, the better it's going to get. First time's always going to be a little shaky. From the outside to the center, confirm. Let me zoom out a touch. I don't really care about the left side, right? Now it doesn't have to go through C. Doesn't have to, because I don't know where C is. I pick a point over halfway on the line. Now I need to do the same thing again, but the circle should be centered at C. So I go to my compass tool again. Same circle from F to D, but I don't confirm. I move it to the center I want. This then gives me 2 points. Point here at the bottom where they intersect, point at the top where they intersect, and I can draw a straight line through those two, and it is necessarily going to go through point C as well. That is now going to be, let's unhide everything. That's going to be my full construction. So when I look at the end result, there's a lot of things happening. When you follow through with the video, write down the steps just like they are in the book, but relevant to what you're looking at. I think will be more beneficial if you write down your own steps. Pause, scroll back in the video until you have them all. Slow down the video if you want, whatever works for you. But in the end, I want to show everything to sort of prove that I'm sort of showing my work. Show my work. I didn't just eyeball this. I show my circle constructions, and anyone who grades this can verify. Oh, there's the perpendicular bisector. There's the initial circle to get 2 points that I can bisect, and so on. So that was our second construction. Similar to the first one, not the same. Not the same, where I just have a line and a point, and I don't necessarily have it ready to be bisecting it yet, but I can make it. Okay. And number 3 is a little different. Number 3 is bisecting a given angle. Bisecting an angle. We did bisecting a line, bisect an angle. Why not? It's going to come into play for some constructions later on. There are many other constructions in level 1. I'm just focusing on the 4 that we need to understand future, more complicated constructions. Just 4 of them. No more, no less. I just want to get through them all, and if there is time, we'll run through them again. Bisecting an angle. So I cleared my canvas here. I need to make an angle. So I'm going to put my angle maybe over here. That will be one line segment, and that can be another line segment. Let's make my one line, and make my other line, and that then specifies this acute angle over here. Okay, so that's given. There's my angle. I can't make a little arc to specify that's the angle, but that's my angle, the acute angle. I'm trying to find a line somewhere in between that cuts this angle in 2 equal sized angles. Cuts it in half. I can't eyeball it with confidence. There's no way. There is no way I can do that. How do I do it? How do I do it? Well, I need to just put a point somewhere on one of the lines. It can be the existing point, yes, but I'm going to pick something over here just to show that it doesn't have to be an existing point. Make your own positioning, right? Whatever's comfortable, especially when you do it by hand. You don't want to stretch too far. You don't want to have things too tight. You want to have a nice comfortable width for your compass that you can draw your arcs confidently, your circles. So that's going to be the outside of the circle. So then I'm going to go to my compass. I'm going to draw a circle with radius BD from the outside to the center, confirm. That then gives me another point where the circle intersects the other line segment BC. Right. Now, the simplest is to just copy this circle again. Copy this width BD. So I'm going to go to my compass tool. Actually, I can take any one I want. I'll do both. You can decide. I can do the exact same circle. As long as I keep the same radius, it doesn't matter. I'm going to now center it at D. The exact same circle, so I'm doing it again, B to D, but I'm going to center it at E. That gives me a new point where those two new circles intersect, and the line BF is a bisector of the angle. You don't need to take the BD radius every time. Let's go back a little bit, though it would work every time. As long as the radius of your new circles um, are the same. Let's, for example, get rid of that one, because that circle was just to create the other point. It's gone. I don't need it. What I would do often is to pick this DE as the radius for my new circle. So I go from D to E, circle, confirm. Then I need to do the same thing, but centered at D. Well, I have the width, it's the same. I can go E to D right away and confirm. It's going to result in the same line that I can join from B to that line, angle bisector. This maybe looks a little nicer, but it's the exact same thing. As long as your circles centered at D and E are the same have the same radius, it doesn't have to be the radius of the original. As long as these two have the same radius, you're golden to get the correct bisecting line. So you have some options there. You can decide how big you want these two circles to be. You can take the original circle and just move it over twice, and it's going to intersect somewhere a little further out because it's bigger probably, but it's whatever's comfortable to you. So I have two ways of doing that. Regardless, I bisect my angle with this new line. And then you can hide some objects. Maybe I just want to show the end result, not show, just want to see the end result. But actually, I think even though you hide it, when you export this or download it, let's say as a PDF, let's overwrite the previous one. Oh, apparently it failed. Okay, let me try again. Download PDF. Let's make it number 2. Let's make it different. When I open that, see, it doesn't show the work that I did. So now I can't give you all the marks because you have to show your work, right? So make sure that before you save this picture or download it or whatever, you show all the work you did on the way. If I then save this version, call it number 3, and that's the one I want to submit so that me as the grader can see, okay, they had their initial circle, they got their point E, they made 2 circles of the same radius, they got their point F, they connected that. Okay, you know how you did it. You didn't just eyeball it or used another tool to cheat or anything like that. The goal here is to only use a line and a circle, essentially, by way of segment or through line and compass. Those are the only tools we have. Only these 2 things. Given any 2 points, we can draw a line. Given a center point and another point for the radius, we can draw a circle. Those are the only things you can do. And so you have to show that those are the only things you did. Because, of course, we have other tools like a protractor and things that can measure angles and all kinds of things. That's not the goal here. All right, we're making progress. I like it. Last one for this level and for today. And we can go through them in the remaining time. Last line is, let's say it like this. Given a line, draw a parallel line through a point. Okay, so parallel lines is our last construction. I'm experiencing a little slowdown here, but I think we'll be okay. Everything is still good. Okay, so a line, let's make a line there, a line, and a point. I want to draw through C a line parallel to this line. Now, technically, parallel is, we touched on this at the end yesterday, or in the video, that, I'll do it over here. One of Euclid's postulates, the last one, is if I have a line there, an intersecting line, and a line here, like so, if these angles add up to less than 180 degrees, these guys are eventually going to intersect. Or another way of saying it is, just go back a second. Another way of saying it is if these angles on the same side of the 2 lines I'm testing, if they aren't the same, these lines are going to intersect. If they are the same, then the lines are parallel, because parallel means they will never intersect. The only way these 2 will never intersect is if these 2 angles are the same. Same means parallel. Not same means those 2 lines will intersect at some point. If they're close, it might take a long time to intersect, but they will. Train tracks have to be parallel. So if I draw any intersecting line across both of them, that angle has to be the same. And that's going to give us the method for constructing another parallel line. So I know my line has to go through C somewhere. I don't exactly know, but I know the angle if I can make an intersecting line across. So I'm just going to use the existing point and the point C, though it doesn't have to be. I can choose another point. I can choose a point there and then make a line through those. It doesn't have to be the existing point. If it's slightly inconvenient, it doesn't have to be. I just have to draw my intersecting line. That is now going to be this line, right? I'm trying to create this top parallel line. And I can do that by copying this angle over here. Whatever this angle is, this acute angle with the given line and the intersecting line, if my line that I create has the same angle, then they will be parallel. Okay. So now how do we do that? Well, I want to make a little circle with center D. Let's not make it big. Let's make it a little tiny circle. And let's go to my compass tool. I just need a point and the circle, center, right? There's my circle. Little guy. He's nice. Then I want to make the same circle with center C. So I'm going to do E to the center D, but it's floating, and I want to move it to center C. It has to be the same circle. Now, I see that this first circle in the bottom, see that circle? Yes. Intersects the given line over here in point F. I want to know what is the point corresponding to F, but on this top circle. Okay, so I have a point here. I probably should have labeled that first, but whatever. So I'm going to make a little circle from F to E and then copy it over to G. So I'm going to make my circle F to E. I need to confirm it there to show my work. Then I'll do the same thing again, F to E, but float it over to G, because I need the radius to be the same, so that I can measure the correct distance EF, G to this new point H. I need to see H is now the point matching F, but at the top. I can then draw a line from my original point C through H, and those two lines, CH and the original AB, will be parallel. Now, to show it better, you can maybe hide some stuff. Not hide it, just sort of fade it a little bit. And you can see, oh yeah, parallel. I like it. Can I eyeball it and say it's perfectly parallel? No, of course not. That's why there's a construction. But remember, before you save your image, show the work that you've done. And whatever you see in your, in your screen, that is what you will be downloading. That is what you'll be attaching to your test answers. So make sure you show enough. You don't have to show everything. I don't care about the top of the circle. Don't care. Just show enough to tell me that you, or to prove to me that you have used the constructions as you should, and you didn't cheat by measuring the angle and then copying it here. The only things we are allowed to use in this chapter, in this back to basics, so that we have a solid, firm understanding of what we're doing when we streamline it eventually, the only things we're allowed to do is draw a straight line and draw a circle. Nothing else. And it's all just a matter of how can I do that in sequence, in combination, to create what I want to create. And the first things that we have to create to make the polygon drawing and the eventual constructions easier is draw a perpendicular bisector to a line segment, draw a perpendicular line to a given line through a point, bisect an angle, and draw a parallel line to a given line through a point. Later on, when we get to, just to foreshadow this a little bit, when we get to stuff like, where is it? Come on, show me something. When we get to, let's say, draw an octagon. Eventually, we're going to learn how to draw an octagon inside a circle. Then when I say, oh, draw a perpendicular bisector to this line, you just do it. because it's one of the constructions that we have in level 1. So it streamlines the explanation for the future constructions. The future constructions will be built on some or all of these 4 level 1 constructions, of course, in addition to my basic level 0. So it's very, 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 very important to master these so that when tomorrow we talk about uh, constructing polygons, I'm going to talk about perpendicular bisector a lot. It's probably the most important one. And these 2, 3, and 4 are sort of complementary, sometimes in a problem, sometimes in a later chapter, but definitely number 1 is absolutely key. So when I say, okay, there's my line, draw a perpendicular bisector on that, you have to know how to do it. You have to. So make sure to at least, the very least, before tomorrow, master level 1 construction 1. Absolutely master it. Let's go through that again. Just a reminder, in case you forgot, that in class I look at the classroom chat in Discord. I don't respond to private messages because I can't expect everyone else to wait while I do that. Right? So if you want to say something, either say it in voice, perfect, or say it in the main classroom chat, so that that question is also on the video and everyone can see and understand what we're doing. Totally up to you. Just saying, while I'm thinking of it. Let's go through that very important perpendicular bisector again. There's a line segment. It could be weird. It could be angled like that. I don't know. It's not always going to be horizontal. I still have to understand what to do. There's my line segment. Draw a perpendicular bisector to this. First thing I do, pick a point. I'm going to go from A. Over halfway. It could be way over here, but my line doesn't extend, so maybe I'll stay on the line. As long as I'm over halfway, everything will be peachy. Let's put it over there. Visibly, clearly over halfway. That will be the radius for my circle. I'll go to my compass tool, from the outside to the center, circle. Now maybe it's cutting off too much of the circle. Basic tools, move things around a little bit. Maybe that looks a little nicer. Maybe I don't even care about that part. Maybe that's good. You don't have to show the full circle, right? The other part is just there because GeoGebra only draws full circles. Now I want to copy this radius for a circle centered at B. So I'm going to go to my compass tool, C to A, floating to B. That gives me 2 points where these 2 circles intersect each other, D and E. The app names them automatically so that we can talk about them. I then connect them, a line segment or a through line, I don't care. And that line DE bisects AB and is perpendicular. Maybe I want to fade the work, maybe that point as well, and just to see what it looks like. There all the work is hidden. I can maybe visually sort of see it's perpendicular, but because it's at an angle, it's really hard for me to be sure that's perfectly 90 degrees. That is why we do the construction. It is absolutely 100% 90 degrees with this construction. And it's cutting the line AB in half. All right. Again, I will emphasize, go and watch the video again, over and over and over. Be clear on the steps. Write out the steps for you. The book isn't going to match exactly what we are doing here because GeoGebra has slightly different arcs, always full circles, and it's automatically naming the points, so the names will not match what we have in the book. All right, that is where we will pause today. A lot to do, but very, very useful for future classes, especially tomorrow. Are there any questions at this stage? Anyone not clear what to do? Let me show, well, you can just search for Geogebra, but I will show you the URL over there, www.geogebra.org, and it'll take you to this guy. Under Math Apps, you click on Geometry, bam, you're there. Easy peasy. Easy peasy to find. I will say again, you are welcome to, no, there's no tomorrow. I, of course, mean Monday when I talk about tomorrow, right? I'm just thinking the next day and I say tomorrow. Yes, you're right. It is, of course, Monday. What was I going to say now? Oh, again, you are welcome if you have a little geometry set. Take the ruler, take the compass, and do it on paper. Absolutely. And in class, that's how we would have done it. But I can't really effectively show you my hands and still write down some stuff. This app is very nice. It's very nice, and I might do it forever like this. It's so nice. I can go back and I can undo something. It's pretty nice. It's the way of the future. Let's be honest. So if you really don't like this app for some reason, you can do it by hand. Get a little geometry set. Totally fine. Or you can follow along and learn something new. Very handy things. And in that way, you can make the PDF, you attach it. If you don't know how to attach a PDF, let's suppose I have these PDFs, right? While we're on the subject, if you want to stay a couple of minutes. I'll check the problems. Let's see the problems here. I'm trying to open my PDF. Problems. No, I'd say stay away from the problems until we have given this some time. Let's suppose I want to merge this PDF with this PDF, right? Maybe people don't know how to merge PDFs. Or for example, you have your scanned answers PDF and you now want to attach this answer, which was from question 2 or something in the quiz, right? How do I do that? How do I do that? You simply search in Google. Let me show you. Scroll down a touch and move it down. What is this? Get away from me. Oh, it made a duplicate, I see. All over the place. Because I'm using push to talk, sometimes when I hold down the button and drag stuff, weird things happen. I just search merge PDF. Internet's a little slow today. Now, small PDF I did use a lot, but it has a timer. You can only do 2 things in like an hour. It's stupid. I like the second one. I love pdf.com. It's very internet. I'm just showing for those that don't know. This is what I do all the time. Then you simply drag your files in. Let me see if I could do that. This one, drag it in. Maybe that one, drag it in, or however many you have, right? Let's suppose this is my test answers that I wrote by hand, and this one was my picture that I want to attach to answer that specific question. I then say merge PDF. Takes a couple of seconds, depending on the size of the PDF. It'll have a pop-up depending on your settings, of course. Let's put this on the desktop as well. And it's as simple as that. Now they are attached in one PDF so that when I send my answers in email and it's graded, I can see my answers back on the course website. If you don't send a single PDF, you can't see it. I'll still grade it though, right? Okay. I went a little over time, but if any of this is not clear, we have 2 more sessions. Ask. Tomorrow we'll do some polynomials. We might finish most of it, but not all of it. So not tomorrow, I'm sorry, Monday. And then Tuesday we might have half a class and some Q&A. So identify what is not clear. This needs to be very, very clear because we're building on this in this chapter and in a future chapter. Okay. But enough rambling. I will leave you to it to practice and do what you need to do. All right. Until later. Enjoy the weekend.